Welcome to Inside Gaming. I'm Brian. It's the weekend roundup.
Yeah.
Woo, let's do it. All right, Google Stadia. Let's talk about it. It's less than 2 weeks away, but there are a lot of warning signs out there that it might not be all it's cracked up to be. Now, we're going to run down a few news items that are at the very least cause for concern. So, first off, even if you're one of those people who pre-ordered one of the $130 Founders Editions, you might not be able to play it on launch day. They're all sold out for one, but don't worry, Google is now selling something called the Premier Edition. Seems like basically the same thing, but you need one of those two bundles to play on November 19th when it launches. Meanwhile, the standalone version of the Stadia Pro subscription, that's going to be available at a later date, and the free version, Stadia Base, that's not going to launch until next year. But here's the problem with all that. Even if you got one of the Founders Edition bundles, Google's shipping those in the order they receive them, so if you bought one, you might not even get it on launch day. So Google said in a blog that the Founders Editions will only, quote, start arriving on November 19th, and that you might only get one that day if you were one of the first gamers who pre-ordered. Google also told The Verge that the new Premier Edition that replaces the Founder Edition, it won't have shipped by that date at all. So get ready to wait, I guess. But they do expect both editions to be delivered within the first 2 weeks of launch. Okay, so that's one thing. Here's another. You know that wireless controller they've been selling along with the service? Probably won't be wireless. Google told The Verge that unless you're playing Stadia on a Chromecast Ultra, you'll have to plug it in. So you'll have to use the USB-C cable to use it with computers or phones. Google said it's focusing on getting wireless play right on the TV first because it wants that big screen experience to be as good as possible. Okay, so no wireless. You might not get it on launch day even if you pre-ordered. A third issue, games, because while Stadia is launching with some big name stuff like Borderlands 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that's all great. Eventually it's going to have games like Cyberpunk 2077, Doom Eternal, Marvel's Avengers, but there's a big but here. It's not going to have many exclusives that might tempt people to try it, aside from Orcs Must Die 3. And I'm sorry, nobody's buying a new service for Orcs Must Die 3. Baird analyst Colin Sebastian said he likes Stadia's technology, but said that Google, quotes, lacks punch with the games that it's offering. He wrote that while we are impressed with the advanced streaming technology, we do not expect Stadia over the near term to be particularly disruptive to the traditional console or PC game ecosystem. He gave some reasons: limited developer support, Google's pricing strategy, the Pro membership. Now, to be fair, Google did announce a new first-party studio that's being led by Jade Raymond. They're currently hiring for all kinds of developer positions, but as we all know, game development takes time. It takes years, and Google doesn't have years. Okay, that's three things. Finally, number 4, there's that old issue that could be the biggest deal breaker of all, latency. Because if the latency's bad, Stadia's not going to work. Now, Google has tried repeatedly to address the latency concerns, saying that it will have 7,500 server locations around the world. But despite all those servers, people who played an early beta of Stadia have said it's still an issue. There was that PC Gamer writer, Jared Walton. He checked it out at GDC in March, said he died 5 times on the first level of Doom. And yeah, it was because of latency issues that got him killed. Or he just sucked, I don't know. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say latency. Now, Google has also said it's got another trick up its sleeve to address latency, something called negative latency. They gave an interview to Edge. Stadia's VP of Engineering, Maj Bakar, said negative latency will actually make Stadia more responsive. I'm not sure about that. In the interview with Edge magazine, he said that negative latency is a concept by which Stadia can set up a game with a buffer of predicted latency between the server and the player, and then use various methods to undercut it. It can run the game at a super fast frame rate, so it can act on player inputs earlier, or it could even predict a player's button presses.
Isn't that just a fancy aimbot? Like,
kind of.
Cheat.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been some predictive stuff, software that people use in fighting games. There's tricks that can make the game feel more responsive, but I don't know. It doesn't, we'll see. For Google's sake, I hope they're right, because if they're not, you can bet we're gonna see all kinds of people posting shit on social media showing controller lag and jumpy gameplay. That might be enough to scare people away from Stadia even before it gets going. Anyway, at this point, honestly, it sounds like Stadia sounds like more of a public beta than an actual new service.
Yeah, like Microsoft's whole streaming service is in beta, and it hasn't had any issues with latency if you're streaming from the console to your house over home Wi-Fi, and like even over like from their servers, it's not that bad.
Sounds like somebody's been paid off by Microsoft. That's the real news story. Moving on, speaking of Stadia and cloud gaming, it looks like Steam might be working on a cloud gaming service of its own. So Steam Database noticed an update to the online form for new partners who are signing the Steam distribution agreement. So the update makes repeated references to something called a Steam Cloud Gaming Addendum that you have to sign before continuing with the agreement. All right, so that's all we know at this point, but Valve it's experimented with streaming games since back in 2014. Remember, it rolled out in-home streaming as a beta feature. In March, they expanded that to include outside the home streaming. Then last month, they announced that remote play together feature that lets players share streamed local multiplayer gameplay with up to 3 friends. So maybe it wouldn't be totally out of character. This seems like something that Valve would be into, so we'll wait and see. All right, moving on. Playtonic says it's not getting bought by Microsoft, contrary to all the rumors. Now, there was something on Reset Era this week that said that the studio is working on a Banjo-Kazooie game under Microsoft.
Give me a Banjo-Kazooie game. I need another one, please,
Yes,
Microsoft.
I know. Playtonic, though, denied that on Twitter. They wrote, "We hate to be the bearers of news that isn't what you want to hear, but we thought it best to come out and say we aren't working on a new Banjo-Kazooie game and we remain an independent studio." They said that they'd love to work with the Bear and Bird again, but the ball isn't in our court. Sounds like an IP ownership issue. Guess what? We're probably getting a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. At least it sure sounds that way according to a job posting from Guerrilla Games. It's looking for something called a technical vegetation artist. The listing explains that within Guerrilla, we have 4 teams dedicated to creating the stunning environments of Horizon. And they say one team is focusing on the creation of lush and stunning vegetation. They should just go to Whole Foods. They could get somebody easy. I don't know. Anyway, it sounds like a very clear indication of a sequel. Of course, not a huge surprise. Horizon Zero Dawn was a huge hit on the PlayStation 4, sold more than 10 million copies in 2 years. It was also a really good game. And speaking of Guerrilla Games, its co-founder Herman Holst just got a big promotion. He's going to be taking over as president of SCE Worldwide Studios, replacing Shuhei Yoshida, who is stepping down. Yoshida, according to Sony, will focus on a new initiative to nurture independent developers. Jim Ryan, president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, said Holst is, quote, one of the most effective and well-respected leaders in the video game industry. He is a passionate advocate for the teams he leads and understands how to empower creative talent to build great experiences. Man, that has been a big come up for Guerrilla Games. Like Horizon Zero Dawn hit and like they got bought by Sony. They are like, you make a good game, that's what happens. And finally, one of the biggest Fortnite players has been banned for cheating. FaZe Jarvis got permabanned recently after he uploaded videos where he was using aimbots. That's a big no-no. I don't think it was like a competitive, like it wasn't in a tournament, but still, he posted a video apologizing and said, all I was thinking about as I was making those videos was just how entertaining and interesting these videos would be for you guys to watch. It didn't even cross my mind to think that I could be banned for life from Fortnite. How is that entertaining? You're using an aimbot.
He should have used that future Google's predictive stuff, right? He probably would have done that.
Nice callback. Now, some people have pointed out that the lifetime ban seems a little harsh considering that others have apparently gotten busted for cheating during actual tournaments and only been banned temporarily, but an Epic Games spokesperson told Polygon, we have a zero tolerance policy for the usage of cheat software. When people use aimbots or other cheat technologies to gain an unfair advantage, they ruin games for people who are playing fairly. All right, time for a 5-second review. All right, here's my impression of this game. All right, let's get to the games that are coming out this week, and let's start off with a classic RPG. Get excited because Romancing Saga 3 It's coming west for the first time. You can experience a brand new HD remaster of the legendary 1995 RPG. This one has optimized graphics, a new dungeon to explore, new scenarios, a new Game Plus function. It's out on PC, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, Vita, Android, and iOS. That's pretty much everything. November 11th. All right, PSVR fans have been waiting for this one. Gollum is a VR adventure. You are a bedridden kid who can telepathically take control of the big old stone creatures. You will explore the world, engage in melee combat, and more. This one's been in development for PSVR for years now. It's finally due out digitally November 12th. You've always wanted to build toy trains, right? Well, get ready because Trax is here. It's described as a beautiful toy train set builder where you jump into a big old sandbox and create a world from your imagination. You'll keep yourself busy laying down tracks, creating bridges, you're gonna build towns, all kinds of stuff. It's due out for Xbox One, November 14th. Sparklight is an action-adventure set in the whimsical and ever-changing world of Geodia. You'll battle foes in top-down action using an arsenal of Sparklight-powered gadget, guns, and gear. Explore dangerous corners of the world, take down the mining industry, and save Geodia. It's out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, November 14th. Did my voice crack? It cracked. I'm too old for my voice to crack. This one is another classic. Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition celebrates the 20th anniversary of the very popular strategy game with stunning 4K Ultra HD graphics, a new and fully remastered soundtrack, and brand new content, The Last Cons, with 3 new campaigns and 4 new civilizations. It's out on PC, November 14th. In Bee Simulator, you can see the world through the eyes of a bee. Finally, explore a world inspired by Central Park where you take part in bee races, collect pollen from rare flowers, that's like porn for bees, and defy dangerous wasps. Play with friends or family in 3 game modes, including co-op and PvE on split screen. It's out for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch, November 14th. Paranoia, Happiness is Mandatory. It's a CRPG. It takes place in humanity's last refuge, Alpha Complex, that's controlled by Friend Computer. That sounds ominous. All citizens enjoy a life of joy, cheerfulness, and cleanliness. Now it sounds like WALL-E a little bit. Questioning the benevolence of Friend Computer is an act of treason. Having access to information beyond your security clearance, you guessed it, act of treason. Refusing to drink your daily dose of bouncy bubble beverage, you guessed it, treason. Punishable by death. Sounds pretty cool. It's out on PC, November 14th. Tokyo Ghoul Recall to Exist puts you on the streets of Tokyo in the middle of a war against ghouls and investigators. Are you going to be a ghoul or an investigator? You got to choose. To eat or be eaten? That's the question. It's based off the popular horror manga Tokyo Ghoul. It is the first video game of the franchise to come west. It's out on PC and PS4, November 15th. Astroneer is a sandbox adventure game where you explore procedurally generated planets. In the game, your goal is to mine these planets. You dig tunnels, you build ramps, expand your base to harvest more resources. It'll include everything in past games in the PC and the Xbox One version. It's already out on those platforms. This version will drop on PS4 November 15th. All right, now for the big ones. First off, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the much anticipated third-person game from Respawn. It's a narratively driven, single-player game, puts you in the role of a Jedi Padawan who narrowly escaped the purge of Order 66. This is following, of course, the events of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now you have to complete your training, develop new Force abilities, and master the art of the lightsaber, all while staying one step ahead of the Empire. It's out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One, November 15th. And finally, Pokemon Sword and Shield. I don't have to tell you what Pokemon is, right? You know. This kicks off the 8th generation, and it's set in the Galar region that's based on the UK. Your mission is to dethrone the champion Leon and defeat Team Yell, a group of obsessed fans. There's also new features such as Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing, which increase size and change forms for certain Pokemon. There's also a wild area. That's a big, large open area with free camera movement. And there's co-op raids. Sounds cool. It's out for the Switch November 15th. All right, that's all the news we've got for you this week. Stay tuned to Inside Gaming for more, and we'll see you on Monday. Welcome to Inside Gaming. I'm Brian. It's the Weekend Roundup. Google Stadia is set to release next month. Still one big question though, what about latency? Because with Stadia, obviously there's no local hardware, you're streaming games over the internet. That's gonna take up a lot more bandwidth than watching a movie on Netflix. Honestly, sometimes that doesn't even work out that great. Well, Google says they have a fix for that: negative